And so I called her from the office and said, I'm, going to be delivered tonight. The twins are breech. We're going to have a C-section. And she goes, okay, hang on. I'm in downtown Austin. I'm shopping. I have my hospital bag in the car and I will leave from here. She's a labor and delivery nurse, but most importantly, she's my mother, and that's her favorite job on the whole planet.
Almost. Yeah, that's right.
I like your shirt.
I love my shirt. I asked her, can I wear with this shirt? Would that be weird? She said, no, that'd be fine.
I actually forced her to wear the merch. Go to merch.momadrjones.com if you also want a vaccinated because science shirt.
I actually wear it because I love it. And it's really soft.
She did ask
I like
me.
it a lot.
You're doing a great job promoting the merch. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, y'all, let's hop into the questions. This is from IL. They want to know, were you at all worried about your daughter becoming a YouTuber and possibly opening herself up to negativity that social media can bring? If so, are you still worried?
When she first started, I did not realize how big of a following there would end up being. So because of that, I didn't worry because I didn't think about it. I didn't see it coming. Now, yes, I worry. I know her heart, and I know that she reads those comments, and I know that people can be brutal. Now, on the other hand, people are amazing, but there's a few that are just brutal, and it's terrible.
And every once in a while it gets to you and you're like arguing in my comments like covertly so nobody knows it's my mom.
Yes, because I don't want to go, listen here.
Katie Watts says, this is so cute. How do you work well together as a team and what happens if you disagree? So the reason that she said that is because when I posted in the community tab asking if y'all had any questions for her, I posted that I had picked up a shift at her hospital and we would be working together. And that only happens occasionally because that's not where I primarily work. And also she doesn't work a lot of the times when I'm working because I work 24-hour shifts and she works 12 hours at night. But we do occasionally get to work together, which has been a really fun experience.
Mm-hmm. Both of us have that professional side to us that if there was a disagreement, we would handle it just like any other professional disagreement. We intentionally can set that boundary. We have to be able to do that. Although it is hard sometimes trying to figure out what to call you while you're there.
Well, I'm glad you said the disagreement thing because that was one of the other questions is how you handle it. And I would say for the most part, we both have very similar values as far as medicine goes. And we both are very much by the book. We want to practice whatever is the most up to date. And I couldn't foresee a reason where there would be a major disagreement. The way that we work together, since right now she works on antepartum, which is kind of the high risk unit where people who are pregnant and need to be admitted to the hospital for longer periods of time before they deliver, they're not in labor, but they need to stay in house. They go over to her unit and she takes care of them over there. So our working relationship is primarily if I admit someone to the hospital and I transfer them over to her side of the hospital, I get to see you. I get to, visit or we have, dinner together if there's some downtime or whatever. But we aren't delivering babies together and stuff, which would be cool. But it would probably be a little harder to navigate that relationship in that situation. Jenny Drude says,
Oh, Jenny. Oh, Jenny.
I love your mom. How fun y'all are doing a video together. I would love to know how she learned to respect her patients and their grief during a time of loss. After having 3 losses, I know firsthand that not all nurses treat pregnancy and infant loss with such dignity. What does she tell other nurses when caring for these special patients as well? And is it true that me and Dharma are her favorite patients ever?
That's a really good question. Yes, Jenny and Dharma, you guys, I will carry you to the end of my career, to the end of my last breath. I will remember you guys.
That's so sweet.
It's really sweet, and I will cry.
But she's not lying.
I'm not.
I know who this is only because she's told me their story so many times. So.
Jenny was young when she had her first loss, and I've never seen anyone teach so many nurses so much about grief care and how to handle it. And not only that, but about the diagnosis that Dharma had. We weren't real familiar with it. So Jenny did a lot of education at her very young age and prepared us remarkably to take care of her when she came in, and I got to be there to take care of her. So the way we know what to say to our patients comes from those kind of experiences that you gave us, Jenny, because there's no textbook answer. You can't learn that in a book. You have to be as empathetic as you can. You can never put yourself in their place, but you have to be able to just really have a lot of empathy and compassion and meet them where they are. So that's how we do it. And we learn from people like Jenny.
To me, that is we get to be the guide through a situation. And a lot of times these are situations that you're never going to make it better. And so I personally learned early on, and probably not in a small way from listening to you talk about it, that you should always just want to show up, and if you can't make the situation better, don't ever be the person who makes it worse. And your goal is to sit with the discomfort, let the patient process, and just be there for whatever they need. And sometimes that's silence, and sometimes it's talking, and sometimes it's using, Dharma's name and making sure that that mom and that family knows that their baby is remembered. So,
Right.
yeah. Renee Tallman says, does Dr. Jones call her mom at work? This is funny because the first time we were really in a situation like in front of a patient where we needed to navigate that was just recently. And we didn't talk about it immediately, but I had told the nurse who was helping me, another nurse who was helping me, it was really weird because when she left, she was a charge nurse that night. I wanted to say like, thanks, Mom. And then I was going to say like, thanks, Tammy. And then I just said like, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to say.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, thanks, sweetie. And then I was like, no, don't say that. But to call her Dr. Jones, I had to go out in the hall and go, okay, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones, because that felt different too. And then I think for the next few days, every time we brought something up at work, I called her Dr. Jones to get myself more used to it. So
Mila says, did you have any idea that Mama Dr. Jones would be a doctor when she was growing up?
Oh, gosh, no, I didn't. She had a few things she focused on. Early on, it was cosmetology and winning the lottery.
I would still take that, but not the cosmetology part. Nobody wants me doing their hair and makeup.
And then after that, it was veterinarian. I really thought maybe that would be the direction she went.
We would have had major issues if I would
You
have
would
chosen
have-
that.
yeah, you
I
would have
have
problems.
horrible animal allergies. Like, I would have not been able to
Yeah,
continue in that career.
it's just not a little bit of allergy. It's pretty bad. So yeah, you're right.
Question for you both. In what ways does the other person inspire you in your day-to-day life? What do you admire about the other person? What would love to know? This is from Nina. I think that my mom is an exceptionally calm and wonderful leader, and it's something that I feel like I struggle with, is like keeping my cool when I'm frustrated and like not letting my emotions talk sometimes, especially when I feel really, really passionate about something. Like I have just word vomit and whatever I'm thinking comes out of my mouth. Luckily on the internet, I can cut all of that out and just like put together part in. But I wish that, that's something I look up to you and do, that you connect with people really well, even when you're in a position of like, she was managing this labor and delivery unit for a long time, and she's really good at it, but it was a lot of work.
Thank you. It was a lot of work. I think probably I'll look up to you first and foremost for your drive and determination. And I think that's always inspired me. And then also just watching you with the kids. I know this is more directed medically, but watching you with the kids and your patience with them and the way you teach them and walk them through. But that's all of us. And you talk about like my calmness now. And I can remember that didn't come like naturally for me. I remember working through some big problems I created for myself along the way from not being calm in certain situations. And so that part of that's learned. And so I still look to you and others and see you guys calm in the midst of a storm, and I still learn.
What was your first reaction when you heard that your daughter wants to embrace a nomadic lifestyle? Was she always outdoorsy as a child?
We really want to go here?
You want to tell the whole story? If my children are like, I'm going to college, I'm going to be like a bumbling mess on the floor. Like, I'm just going to lock them up in the house and never let them go anywhere. So
Yeah.
I feel like that was
I feel like I've come a long way from that day.
Yeah. Basically, when we were first considering moving to New Zealand, which is something that we're now in the process of working on, this was 27, it was 4 years ago, probably.
The girls were 3.5.
Okay, so yeah, now they're almost 9. So, oh my gosh. They're almost 9.
Yes, they are.
We were in the car and we had been on a trip together.
Grapevine.
Yeah. And Donnie and I, my husband, were talking about it. And I think it was like, we had always kind of tossed the idea around, but it was that day that we were like, all right, this is something we want to do. And so I had texted her that, and then she unknowingly stopped at the same gas station as us. And so I just like waltzed into this gas station and she's like bawling. And I was like, oh my God, I have destroyed her life. And I get it because I would feel the same way, but it was awful.
It was awful. I got like wholeheartedly busted at that gas station. It was a Buc-ee's, to be quite honest. I went into the bathroom at Buc-ee's because my eyes were all puffy and I knew my makeup was all over my face because I'd been crying. And I walk out of the bathroom looking a little better than I went in, and she's standing right there. And she went, "Mom, what is wrong?" And I don't want y'all to move. It was bad. So yeah, I think I do overcompensate now because the last thing I would want to do is be the person that, ruins someone's dream of going somewhere like this. And it's very important to me that they do these things they want to do. And yes, I'm sad, but I've come to terms with it, and I know I can stalk them over there just like I always have here.
How long has your mom been a nurse, and was she always labor and delivery?
I've been a nurse for 35 years, and yes, I did labor and delivery, and then NICU, emergency room, and home health, and then came back to L&D about 23 years ago or so.
So interestingly, 35 years is the age that I am. Mm-hmm. So you took your nursing exams pregnant with me.
Yes, February when I was pregnant with you, and I was barely pregnant. We had to go in person to take our exams, and escorted to the bathroom if we needed to go bathroom. And as early gestation, I was peeing a lot, and so they escorted me to the bathroom a few times. Thank God I didn't have horrible morning sickness because I just didn't.
Gosh, yeah.
But I didn't either. Remember. That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't. And interesting, they kept having to escort me to the bathroom. But yeah, I took boards when I was pregnant with you.
Pink Salt and Lemons. What is the heaviest baby you've ever heard of being delivered vaginally?
I would say vaginally around 10 pounds.
I delivered an almost 12-pound baby.
Oh, Lordy.
In residency.
No.
Barb Hutchie. What was your pregnancy, labor, and delivery experience like with your daughter?
I spent 2 weeks in the hospital at about 31 weeks gestation or so with you, and preterm labor, and was in a little hospital. And if I had all of that to do over again, I'd probably seek a little bit larger hospital just because
they don't even have a NICU or anything there.
No, and they didn't have as much experience. At the time, they were doing a lot of amniocentesis. And
did you have an amniocentesis?
I had 2. So when I was pregnant with you, they did them to withdraw a little bit of fluid and do what was called an LS ratio. I don't remember what that stands for, but you would hand deliver that sample of fluid to the lab, and you would meet a certain number, and it showed probable lung maturity. So preterm labor for a couple of weeks, and then got 2 weeks out, and they decided that maybe I was going to not deliver at that point. I went home and even had some direction on self-administering some terbutaline sub-Q.
At home?
At home.
Oh my gosh, that's so scary.
I never did that. And then I ended up going to 39 weeks with you. The amniocentesis was probably the part that I wouldn't have done again, because we literally got upstairs to do this in the sono department. And I'm not joking when I say they took down the amniocentesis tray from the shelf, and so it was, but I mean, I was already there. I was young. I was trusting, and they did a good job with it.
You were 21.
I was 21, and I trusted him to do what he said, and he did do a good job with it. And then for delivery, I didn't have an epidural. You were OP.
OP is occiput posterior, so that is in reference to the position of the back of baby's head and which way it faces in relation to mom. And occiput posterior means baby is sunny side up, which is fine. You can deliver a baby that way, but the way that a baby navigates through the pelvis and through the birth canal to exit is much easier if they're facing the floor.
So she was facing up and pushed. If you've ever pushed with an OP baby, you'll know it's like you're pushing against a brick wall, not moving, and I could feel that. So after a couple of hours of pushing, they turned her some way with forceps, then I delivered you pretty quickly.
And that rest of that story is that she delivered my little sister really fast because all she could remember is how hard she had to push with an OP baby, and Maddie wasn't OP.
She wasn't OP, and I literally pushed one time and then ended up with a 4th degree.
You want to put that in the video?
No.
Okay,
well, I don't really care if you put it in the video, because it's important to know that you need to control your pushing, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you could have a 4th degree.
And also that you can recover from it.
And I recovered well from it while you sat outside the door. on the floor asking Dr. Hampton every time he would come in how far I was dilated.
Look, the first indication of me wanting to be an OB
You were
doctor.
7.5. You were 7.5, almost 8.
Yeah, so a 4th degree tear is just in reference to how bad a perineal tear is at the time of delivery, and 4th degree is pretty much as bad as it gets. I mean, although there are also different degrees of 4th degree, they're not really discussed quite as much. But Alyssa wants to know if you're glad that I followed in your footsteps or you wish I had chosen another career.
I am glad, but I am only glad because she has found the balance. I just remember working in labor and delivery so long and knowing that it was such a struggle for men and women in OBGYN.
I think most OBs still struggle greatly with that. Yeah.
So when you first said OBGYN, I told the girls at work that was the one area I didn't want her to go in. Not because I didn't love it, but because I had watched those doctors
Well,
struggle.
it was the one area that I was like, I will never do that. Like, going into 3rd year, I was like, I will do anything. I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to do my rotations, but I will never be an OBGYN. Okay, this is the one I included because several people said it. So no question, but totally thought that this was Brene Brown. So in that picture that I posted on Instagram, everybody thinks you're Brene Brown. Do you know who that is?
Yes, I know who that is. Love her. And I take that as a compliment.
Yes,
and
you
y'all
should.
that thought it was are probably a little disappointed.
Adorable Christy, what is your favorite part of a birth?
One is when the patient first gets there and they're scared. Getting them from that point to actually trying to help them enjoy that process is one of my favorite parts. And then the minute of birth, when it's the excitement of just the delivery and the relief of the discomfort mom's feeling, and then just the excitement at that time is my favorite part.
I like when after a delivery, not just like that moment, but like after I hand baby up to the chest and I'm, down there doing whatever, especially in someone who had an epidural and is really comfortable, the fact that they just like completely forget that I am in existence.
That's
Obviously
good.
Sometimes people, but it's so fun to just, watch. And also like a really tough, like anesthesia-free birth when someone is like, they really wanted that and they finally do it. Watching like how excited they are to have baby and how proud they are of themselves is fun. Another question that I didn't clip out that I saw come up on Instagram was if you delivered my babies or if we considered having you deliver them, which I think they meant like being the nurse at the delivery.
Oh, no. I would have been a nervous wreck.
Were you nervous when I had my C-section with the twins? She did get to come to the OR. Actually, my MFM doctor invited her to the operating room for my twin C-section, which I was really glad that she was there because that was our first delivery. And my husband does not handle like medical stuff well. And I was worried he was going to like pass out or something. He wouldn't even get up and go look at the babies after they came out because he was so anxious. He was like, no, I'm going to stay right here for you. I'm going to stay here and make sure you're okay. I'm like, yeah, or so that you don't pass out.
I don't know if you remember. Do you remember in that delivery when someone asked for hemobate?
Yeah, because I was like, no, don't give me hemobate. I have asthma.
Right. And it ended up being some kind of like, they were just seeing if it was readily available because in the past it hadn't been.
I don't know.
And I think it was like this little inside test they were doing, so that scared me a little bit.
Hemobate is a hemorrhage medication that is contraindicated in anyone who has asthma, especially severe asthma, which I have. So.
Yes. And so when I heard the word hemobate, I almost jumped into nurse mode. But the reason I wasn't nervous, I think, is because I had one focus, and that was on you and Donnie and the babies.
And it was your first grandkids. I mean, you have
so
grandkids from
like
marriage,
working.
but yeah.
Yeah.
We were living in Lubbock at the time. That's where I was in medical school at Texas Tech when the twins were born. And she was living here down in, were you in Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I called her and told her, I have severe preeclampsia. They're admitting me. My doctor took the phone and was like, we'll wait for you. Don't worry. As long as everything is like not emergent, we'll wait for you. And I was like, great. And then
I
he
asked him all kinds of questions.
And
he's so nice.
He's wonderful. He also volunteered my OB to like come in the middle of the night so that we could wait for you. But everybody,
and then they volunteered to let me come in and didn't even ask you if it was okay. So
it was okay. It was more
excited.
than okay. But nobody questions what Dr. Yeoman says. He's like the king of obstetrics. He's such an amazing maternal fetal medicine doctor. I call her, I'm 35 weeks. So although we knew the twins could come early, we definitely did not anticipate that they would come because I hadn't had any preterm labor or anything. It was just my blood pressure suddenly shot up and I got sick. And so I called her from the office and said, I'm, going to be delivered tonight. The twins are breech. We're going to have a C-section. And she goes, okay, hang on, I'm in downtown Austin, I'm shopping. I have my hospital bag in the car and I will leave from here. I'm like, only a labor and delivery nurse mom would carry a hospital bag in case you went into labor 8 hours away so they didn't have to spend 15 minutes getting back to their house.
I had that. I was so worried that I wasn't going to get there in time. So I had it. And you kind of had some signs that.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting sick, yeah.
And
I posted a picture on Thanksgiving. She's like, you're going to have preeclampsia. Okay, y'all, that's all the questions. We have been filming for a long time. It was fun. Thanks for hanging out with me.
Yes.
I'm sure they will love you. Why don't you start your own YouTube channel?
Sweetie, Dr. Jones, Danielle, MPJ, whoever you are.
Thanks for being here today, y'all. If you want to watch another video, I will link it over here, or you can just come back next week and I will see you on Monday.